Hi, this is Austin Roney, a third grade teacher at the Syracuse Academy of Science and Citizenship. Hey third grade, happy Tuesday and welcome to science class with me, Mr. Roney. What we're going to be focusing on today is the question, why do offspring look like their parents? And to understand that question, we have to figure out what the word offspring means. So, have you ever heard of that word before? And if you have heard of it, what do you think it means? So there are some context clues in that question that might help us figure out what offspring means. And so the question again is, why do offspring look like their parents? So if it's talking about their parents, maybe you think offspring means children or babies. And you'd be right. Offspring are children or babies of parents, and these can be both human children or they can be animals. And part of the reason why I'm thinking about this question now is because my sister, her name is Victoria, and she usually lives in New York City, but she sent me a message the other day online and she said, "Do you think we look alike?" And it was kind of out of the blue, it was kind of a random question, and I thought about it. And so I looked at a picture. This is a picture of us in high school. And you can make your own judgments. Do you think we look alike? I think we do look a little bit alike. Not exactly the same. But what do you think the reason would be why me and my sister would look alike? And when you're thinking about this question, think about whether you have any brothers or sisters. Do you look like your brothers or sisters? And if you don't have any brothers or sisters, think about whether you look like your mom or your dad. And the reason why my sister and I might look a little bit alike is because we share the same parents. We have the same mom and we have the same dad. And for that reason, we might share some of the traits or characteristics that our parents do. So let's talk a little bit about offspring, both in terms of humans and animals. So let's look at these two pictures to get us started thinking about how offspring might look different and might look similar to their parents. So have you ever seen a baby animal next to its parents? In what ways did they look similar or different? So you might think about a pet that you've had, or you might think about ducklings that you've seen at a park swimming around with its parent, or any place where you would have seen baby animals and parent animals together. And if you want to get inspired, take a look at this picture of the cats here. When I'm looking at the cats, I see some similarities and some differences. So we can guess that the bigger cat here is the parent and that the three little cats are the kittens. It looks like one of the kittens has the same pattern of fur, or at least very close to the parent, and then the other two cats here actually have a different pattern of fur, but they look like each other. And just like all cats, we see that they have kind of pointy ears, they have whiskers, and looks like similar shaped eyes, paws, tails, things like that. And then when we look at the baby goat, let's take a look at one similarity and one difference that you see. And I'll let you guys figure this one out on your own. I'll give you a few seconds. What's one thing that's the same, and what's one thing that's different between the baby and the parent? And here's another question that I think it's important to think about. So it says baby animals look like their parents, but not like another type of animal's parents. What questions do you have about this phenomenon? So one thing we might have to do is figure out what the word phenomenon means. The word phenomenon is just something that happens in the natural world that we can use science to help explain. So when you think phenomenon, think of something that happens. So the question is, why does this baby gorilla look like its parent here, but not like the zebra parent? Let's watch the video real quick. So think about that. Why do you think the baby gorilla looks like its parent and maybe acts the same? And why do you think the same thing about the zebra? Why does the zebra baby not look like the gorilla parent? This might seem like a simple question, but think about it. Now what you can do is head to a local park, or maybe take a look out in your backyard if you can't go to the park today. Can you find any ducks and ducklings? And do the ducklings look similar to human offspring? So at this point, I would like you to open up your Google Classroom assignment, and you can follow along with that as you're watching the video, and try to pause the video whenever there's a question on Google Classroom, and we'll kind of go at that pace and do the assignment together. I'm going to use this whiteboard to write down my answers, but you can type your answers in the Google form. So based on looking at the picture and video that we just saw, what do you already know about how offspring look like parents? I'm going to do that right now. What I already know. Then, once you've written something that you already know, I want you to come up with a question. What do you still want to know about offspring and parents and how they look alike? So today in this video, we're going to match offspring to their parents based on pictures. But before we do that, let's go over what a species is. A species is a group of living things that are the same kind. So do you think that a butterfly and a dog are the same species? No. A butterfly and a dog are actually not the same species. So let's think about how we know this. And look at that picture. And think about how you know that they're not the same species. And yeah, if you said that they look different and have different traits, that would be a really good answer. We know that a butterfly and a dog are not the same species because they do have different traits. And a trait is basically something that we can see or observe that tells us about an animal. So think about this. Are you the same species as a person sitting next to you or the people in your house? Do you think you and your brother or sister or your mom or dad are the same species? And if you said yes, you're right. Everybody in your house, unless they're an animal, is probably the same species because humans are all the same species. And one thing that can confuse a lot of kids when they're learning about different kinds of species is that even though we're humans, humans are actually just another kind of animal. And so when we study humans, it's just like studying other animals, and there's lots of similarities that we have with other animals. Here's where I'm going to need your help to help sort these cards into the right places. So let's look at all of your cards. And these are the cards here. Which ones might be the parents of the young panda bear below? So we see what the offspring looks like here. How do we find the parents among all of these cards? To me, the ones that look most like this baby panda bear are this one and this one. And the reason that I picked that is because there are a lot of similarities between the baby and the parents. They have the same color ears, they have the same dark spots on their eyes, and they have the same shaped nose. And they do look a little bit different, but to me, these ones look the most similar to this baby panda as I can find. If you chose this one or this one, those are pretty good guesses, but it looks to me like these are the most similar. So it turns out we were right. These really are the parents to the offspring, or the baby panda bear, that is in the picture. So here's where you can follow along on Google Forms and fill out the question there. And the question in Google Forms is going to be the same question as you'll see here. How did you select the parents? And since we're not in class and you don't have a partner to discuss with, think about it yourself, or if you have someone doing the assignment with you, discuss it with them. How did you select the parents when we were trying to find the parents of this baby panda? What did you look for? And then the next question is, does the offspring look exactly the same as the parents? Why or why not? And that's another one you can fill out in Google Forms. Let's do another one together. So look at all the cards again. Which ones might be the parents of the young oak tree that we see below? So take a look at all of the cards and see if you can find the parents of the oak tree. This one's a little bit trickier, actually. I'm actually not completely sure, so I'm going to take my best guess. And it looks like we're right. If you picked those ones, you're right. So the same thing as last time. How did you select the parents of this offspring? What are the kinds of things that you looked for? And this one, you do not have to actually answer in Google Classroom. Let's take a look at what the answer says here. And here it says, the offspring has similar traits, such as green leaves of a certain shape that it inherited from its parents. Inherited means it was passed down from parent to offspring. And that's exactly what I was looking at too. I was looking at the shape of the leaves of this tree and the shape of the leaves that you see here in these pictures. Because it looked similar, I thought that that was the oak tree. Again, does the offspring look exactly the same as the parents? Why or why not? No. Although the young oak tree inherited many traits from its parents, there is still some variation in its traits. Variation means differences. One big variation, or one big difference, is that the adult oak trees are much taller than the offspring. So let's talk a little bit about what we just learned. How can observing data about traits help you classify plants and animals by their species? And do all members of a species have exactly the same traits? Do all offspring have exactly the same traits as their parents? For the first one, with observing data, by looking for traits, we can help figure out if animals or plants are in the same species. So when we look at this picture of the cat again, we can make a pretty good guess that these cats are all the same species. They're all cats because of the way they look. They all have cat-like eyes. They have a pointy nose. They have whiskers. They have similar patterns of fur, and they have tails that go up. Those are all a lot of the traits that help us classify them as the same species. And they look a lot different than dogs, for example, which are a different species. But do all members of the same species have exactly the same traits? Well, no, they don't have exactly the same traits. They have similar traits, but there still is some variation or differences in how the cats look and behave. The most obvious difference here is that two of the baby cats have different fur patterns than their parent. So our final question in Google Classroom is going to be revisiting this video that we watched about the gorillas and the zebras. And our question is, baby animals look like their parents, but not like another type of animal's parents. So the baby zebra looks like its zebra parent, and the baby gorilla looks like its gorilla parent. But why don't they look like each other? Use what you have learned to explain this phenomenon. So Give me a sentence or two about why you think babies look like their parents, but they don't look like other animals' parents. I'm really curious to see what you come up with and how you used what you learned today to better answer that question. So after learning a little bit more about traits and how traits are inherited from parents, I might be able to have an interesting conversation with my sister about whether we look alike or not. I think because we're the same species and because we have the same parents that we probably do look pretty much alike, at least compared to other animals or people that are not our brother or sister. Anyway, I'm going to catch up with my sister now. You can head over to Google Classroom and finish up the assignment if you didn't do it while you were watching the video, and I will see you here tomorrow for another science class. Have an awesome day, 3rd grade, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.